Welcome to this exclusive training. If you're here, you're serious about landing your next role, especially in the executive space, and you don't want to wait months or even years to find your next opportunity, and you know for sure that the job boards and sending out thousands and thousands of resumes is just not working. The truth is that most executive roles are not posted online. They are reserved for people who know how to play the game, the insiders, if you will. In this next few minutes, I will reveal a 3 step process to bypass all of the junk that you see online and really get to the decision makers and the people who have high impact that can help you get hired quickly. By the end of this training, you'll know exactly how to get that 6 figure job, build the relationships that are required in order for you to connect with decision makers, and most importantly, is the salary negotiation. There is a process that you need to follow, otherwise, you'll be leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line. Now, a critical mistake that most executives take is that they wait. They're waiting for the recruiter to reach out, they're waiting for a job posting, and in some cases, they're just waiting for somebody to notice them. But the ugly truth is, recruiters really don't work for you. They work for the companies prioritizing quick fills, not maximizing your career potential. They also know that job boards are really a trap. High level roles are not posted there, and yet many people spend their time on job boards. And then without a strategy, because you've been on the other side of the table interviewing people in the past, you probably don't remember how difficult it is to actually get in the room for an interview. During this training, we want to talk a little bit about that. How do you actually get into the room for an interview? And then, of course, we want to make sure that once we get an offer in hand, we don't take the first offer. We have to know how to negotiate. Okay, so let's jump right into this. The first step is personal branding. Think about this. If you're on the other side and you want to hire an executive, but you can't find them on LinkedIn, they don't have a great profile, you Google their name and nothing comes up, there's no thought leadership associated with them, they don't have any podcasts, they're not on any shows, they're not sharing any information, and yet they want a $300,000 to $400,000 role. And yes, I do believe that if you have connections, you should be able to get the role, but do you really want to leave that up to chance? So the first thing that we definitely do when we work with our executives is that we want them to understand what their brand looks like. And when they can't find you online for whatever reason, that brand is actually telling a story. And so one of the things that we want you to do is just go to Google right now and type in your name and look at what comes up. And if you're not seeing enough content, then the same thing happens with your teenager when you try to call them. Generally, they will respond to you via text, but they don't want to get on the phone and have a conversation. Can you resonate with that? So what that means is that when a company is looking for your skill set, they're going to do research online before they talk to you. And so it's critically important that you clean up your brand presence. If you got things on Instagram and TikTok that are not favorable to your brand, you need to remove them. But in addition to that, you got to figure out a way to actually build a brand presence above and beyond LinkedIn. And that's going to be critical because if you don't have a brand, when companies are looking for your skill set and your talent, they're not going to be able to find you, and that's going to be a problem. We'll go on to step 2 in a second. All right, so let's talk about step 2. Now, step 2 is critical because once you have your branding in place, that shows your credibility, but if nobody gets to see it, that's going to be a problem. So in step two, we need to focus on our personal relationships and branding. As an executive, you must have met with hundreds and hundreds of people who can vouch for you, who can actually talk to your experience. And they may not even know that you're looking for a role. And don't get me started. If you put open to work on your LinkedIn, you're just causing the recruiters to repel you because they're looking for someone who's currently working. And there is a bias when you put open to work on your LinkedIn profile. And I hope that helps someone. But more importantly, when we build these relationships, we have to kind of warm them up before we start asking for anything. So, my number one thing that I would have you to do is on LinkedIn, join some groups. And when you join those groups, start providing your expertise. At least 2 to 3 times a week, you're commenting on an area that you're an expert in and providing value to that community. Another great idea is to join communities in which they are all looking for roles and you can share information, meet other people, and actually swap jobs that are available because you'll have a broader reach of people that you can reach out to. Now, with some of our clients, they get access to our expert network. And by getting access to our expert network and knowing the relationships that we've already built, a lot of our clients are able to actually jumpstart their career or their new career just by connecting with our network. In addition to that, for you giving into the network and making sure that you're actively engaged in those groups, then you want to start sending out these personalized messages. And what I mean by personalized messages, it doesn't mean that it can't be a template, but it needs to be your voice. It's okay to use AI in order to craft it, but you ought to read it and ensure that it represents who you are. And then you need an automated system that can actually send that information on a regular basis to people that are in your network. And you're not asking them for a job right away. You're just asking for a conversation. You want to learn more about what they do. You want to let them know if you get on the phone with them or they're responding to you in a DM, some information about what the job could be. And then, of course, are they open for a referral? You see, some of our clients, they actually have a profile website. So they can provide that website to their friends, family, and people that they're interested in working in so that they can get a better sense of who they are above and beyond the resume. So that's step two. We need to build those relationships warmly, and we can't rush the process. But if we do this correctly, you'll have enough job offers that you'll be comparing which one is the best one by the time you're done. So the second part is build relationships, authentic relationships as you are in your job search. And honestly, when you have a job, that is the best time to continue to build these relationships because you never know who's going to help you when it's your time of need. And lastly, be friendly. If somebody's reaching out to you for support and you can support them, help them. Be someone who is helpful so that when it's in your time of need, you can be helped. Give me a second, we'll go on to step three. Now let's start talking about step three, which is salary negotiations. Believe it or not, the salary negotiation is a culmination of all the other things you did that we talked about in step one, where we mentioned improve your branding, in step two, building your relationships. So by the time you get to step three, when you have an offer and you need to negotiate that offer, you'll have some leverage because the company that you're working for has experienced you in many different flavors and they were so excited to have you on their team that they actually gave you an offer. Now, the first mistake that you can make is accepting the first offer because usually the first offer is not the best offer. And now that you can negotiate from a sense of strength, we definitely need to look at all the pieces, right? Not just the salary, but what is the PTO? What benefits do they have that they can support your company? All of these things play into the negotiation. So sometimes we may not be able to get a salary change, but we can get a PTO change. Or we may not be able to get the PTO change, but we may be able to get more support. What about if you are interested in growing your business or growing your learning or growing in your family or supporting the things that you need in your life above and beyond the salary? There is a lot of room for negotiation. But for executives, the one thing that I will say is, and every negotiator will tell you this, you do have to be willing to walk away. So if you come into the negotiation room and you're desperate, that is going to be a problem. People are not going to be able to take you seriously. But if you come in there, you're looking to make a deal, you're looking to work for this company, you need to state the facts, state how you can impact the company, and then you need to politely request the amount that you're looking for, usually in the form of a counter offer. And let me add to this. If you're in the interview and no one brought up what the salary expectations are, you don't be the first one to bring it up. That is going to weaken your negotiation. What you want to do is, after you have the offer in hand, then is when negotiations can really start. And so let's talk about that. The first thing is, never provide just one number. Always provide a range. You want that range to reflect the minimum part of the range. Let's say it's 250,000 is what you're looking for. You got to make sure that that's at the minimum of the range. And then the maximum of the range should be 30,000 to 40,000 more. If you go anything higher than that, then the company may reflect the fact that you don't understand your market. So it's going to be critically important that you do your research, go to Glassdoor, and figure out what is the range for the role. Never put yourself at the lowest part of the range, because when you put yourself at the lowest part of the range, they're going to think about your quality of work, which is not what we want here. So always put yourself in the middle or even at the high end of the range. Number two, you need to replay back to them what they want you to do in this role and how you can impact the company because you've been there and done that. And this is a critical step that most people forget. They just send a note back and say, well, I'm interested in a little bit higher of a role because that's what I had envisioned, with no data to back it up. When you reply back, you need to indicate, based off of your 10K and your quarterly earnings and the role specifications and what I learned via the interview, I believe that I can make impact in these areas within the first 2 years, which is why I'm asking for the change in salary. Now, we can discuss what our responsibilities are going to be, but based off of the requirements of the role, I believe that this is the better range for us to work with. If you agree, please reach back out to me as soon as possible. You see, there's a level of confidence that comes with, if you know what you're doing, then you can command more. But you need to do it with data backing up your decision, so that if it doesn't work out and they decided to pass on your offer, then maybe you can come back to them at a later time when they realize that you were the right candidate for the role. I can't tell you how many times that you said no to the offer and to the counter offer, and then 2 weeks later they come back saying, no, we really want you to be at our company and therefore we'll give you what you're asking for. So that's the step number 3, is be willing to walk away. But when you negotiate, always negotiate with the range, and then you need to provide the backup information using their language to determine why you deserve more. So now that I share with you step 1, step 2, and step 3, I do want to plug in the fact that my company helps with all 3 of those areas. If you're interested in getting a 40% higher salary, then go ahead and click the button below and get your complimentary free session. And we will just go through a game plan of what you can do to make improvements. And if it makes sense for us to work together, then we will share with you what we have. And if you're interested in working with us, great. If not, we still hope that you would learn something on the call. So good luck out there. We know that you can do this. And we're looking forward to seeing that LinkedIn update that you got your next role.